I'm not into sports at all, so
What's going on, guys? This is Drewski,
this is
Cryptid
Z-Babes.
War and Z Baby. We're with Cryptid Warfare and Conspiracies. I got the Z Man with me today, so I'm happy now. I'm happy. I got my buddy with me. So, guys, we've got a awesome podcast for you.
Yeah.
You guys have no idea who we got. Okay, her name is Karen Wilkinson. She is a author and she's a writer. She's the author of a book called The Stolen Seed, Evil Harvest. We're gonna jump in that today. She's a contributor to, you guys that don't know, L.A. Marzulli. He's another forefront runner when it comes to aliens, when it comes to Nephilim, stuff like that. He's at the tip of the spear when it comes to that. She is a monthly newsletter writer for him. She's a mom, a grandmother, a wife, a Christian, a writer, and a speaker. So she wears a lot of hats. So cheers to her. Yeah. So other than that, we're gonna get into this. Oh, this is gonna be good. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying. So, Karen, appreciate you coming on here and take it away, girl. Let's do this.
Woo!
Hi. Well, Jersey, hi. How are you? I am just so happy to be here with you guys today. We've had such a blast talking already, and I'm so excited for this time together. Thank you so much.
For sure.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, this has it's been a crazy busy time. God's got me wearing a lot of hats. It's been very busy. Never expected to be doing any of this, and but it's amazing, and I'm getting to share a lot of the gospel with people through this process, which I never expected as well. So it's been just such a blessing to be able to write this book and share this information. Um, and it kind of came to be where God sent me to LA Marzulli. I had a near death experience, which I write about in the book. I call it more a near life experience because I felt like it was closer to life than death. It was amazing. And we can certainly talk about that later.
Oh, for
But
sure.
after that, I had to go through some PTSD therapy, which helped me to deal with the trauma of what took me to that incident. And that helped me deal with this lifetime of crazy memories that I have from all these things that have happened. The abduction experiences that I have had since the earliest memories that I have. And once I was able to really allow myself to deal with them, I felt God tell me to go find L.A. Marzulli. And I'm like, he doesn't know me. Why would he even speak to me? God's like, I got you. And it just happened. We sat down. He's the first person I ever spoke with about this, aside from my husband. Um, and we did an interview, and it became the fourth movie in his UFO disclosure series. The movie was on the UFO abductions, and I was terrified to share that information,
I'm
to put that
sure.
out there. You know, society marks us as freaks and lunatics and delusional, and even Christians will put that label on those of us who have had this happen, and that's just not true.
Yeah.
And so after that movie came out, I was terrified, but what I got was just an overabundance of love and support. And there were so many people coming forward who wanted to talk about it because they had similar experiences or almost identical experiences, and they had never had anyone to share that with. And that's when I felt God put on my heart to write. I wrote this book very quickly. It was very easy to write because I just wrote the truth. The book is a lot of not scary. There's a lot of really good, positive in here, as well as the accounts of a lot of the things that have happened to me. I don't share everything because I don't think that's necessary. Some of it's a little dark. But it really draws the correlation between who and what these things are and the Bible and how it all relates back to God and God's kingdom. And there is a lot of scripture in here and a lot of guidance and a lot of help for those people who've been in this situation and how to stop it and who and what these entities are. And since writing it, there have just been an abundance of people who contact me, and anyone can contact me via my website. I have a lot of contact through social media as well, but the website is really the best way. But people are contacting me with the same or similar stories, and they just want to talk. They just want someone to reach out to. There just aren't resources for people who want to come at this and want someone to maybe just pray with them or just listen to them with kindness and an open heart. And it's hard to find. And I get that. And so it's really been a blessing to me to be able to share this information and to get the word out about what's happening and the evil that these entities are perpetrating, and just the lies and the deception that is coming along with this UFO, UAP, non-human alien stuff that is just all over the news and all over the internet and all over books and movies and TV shows and podcasts. And I'm just out here trying to set the record straight from my point of view and my personal experience as to what is going on. So sorry, it's a long introduction, but
Good.
it's
Not
yeah,
setting the stage. I love it.
good. So from there, do you have any questions from that point, or do you want me to kind of go into just what happened to me from kind of the beginning, or
Yeah, let's jump into
do that?
that.
Okay,
Let's jump in the beginning.
sure. So from my earliest memories, I was being taken, and I mean, tiny little kid when I was very, very young, before I even remember the details of the actual abduction scenarios. I had memories of being in the presence of these Nordic entities. People call them Nordic because they have the very fair skin, fair eye, fair haired. They are very large eyes, almost like twice the size of ours, thin, tall, and they weren't very nice to me. And as a little kid, like 2, 3 years old, I was terrified of the members, a lot of people on my dad's side of the family, because they looked like that. And, I couldn't make that distinction that they were not aliens. My family were not aliens, but they had a similar features, and it scared me. And I wouldn't go to them. I would just scream bloody murder, and no one understood why. And of course, I couldn't vocalize that. As I got older, and then I have the more concrete memories of, around 5, 6 years old, when we start to remember more significantly. Then I have the memories of the actual abduction scenarios. And typically it would happen at night, sometimes during the day as well. But at nighttime, when it would happen, I would know when it was going to happen. I would feel a change in the energy in the room. I could feel the evil in the room. There's this feeling. It's like seeing a color you've never seen, or a sense that you've never experienced. I can close my eyes and feel it. And I know when they're close by, still to this day. And it's just, I can't explain to anyone what that feels like, because it's a feeling, not it's not something that's common. And I could feel it. I could feel the evil, just the evil in the room. I would just start to get terrified. Sometimes I'd wet the bed. I would always be looking for somewhere to hide. My older sibling, I remember her telling me, "You can't hide from them. They can see us through the house." This is like a 5 and an 8-year-old having this conversation.
Yeah.
About something we don't know. And you have to remember, we don't have the vocabulary for it, right? No one's saying these are aliens, this is a gray, this is a spaceship, this is a deep underground military base. I didn't have any of that vocabulary. I didn't know who and what they were. And I didn't know that this wasn't happening to everyone either. So it was really hard for me to try to tell anybody, except to say, they're taking me, I don't like it. I don't like what they're doing. I want them to stop. They're scaring me. Adults will think it's a nightmare, or they'll think it's a bully at school, or something like that. They won't, or a sibling thing or something. They don't get it. And so, but typically I would feel it start, and there's this weird low hum vibration that would just fill the room and fill my body when they would show up. It's almost like the lowest beats, like holding on to a bass speaker almost. And typically, sometimes there'd be a light coming through the window, or the window down the hall. Sometimes I would notice it'd get really quiet outside, like all the crickets and cicadas, if we were in the countryside, would stop.
Hold on real quick. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
You said it felt like a bass, right?
Yeah.
Resonating through your body?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Side note, we'll get back to what you're saying. Okay, and when you said like the vegetation and the animals and crickets, everything would just go silent, right?
Yeah.
That's the same, because me and Zook, our bread and butter is cryptid hunting, right? That's the same thing on what cryptids do. Bigfoot, Dogman, stuff like that. When you enter in their area or they come towards you, animals all stop.
Yeah.
And then they shoot out infrasound, is what they call it. It's a vibration, a humming noise, or it feels like your chest. Yeah, so that kind of correlates. Anyways, I thought that was very interesting.
No,
Okay,
that's
so-
really interesting. I did not know that, but
Well,
it is
too,
almost like they have this something around them that then just engulfs wherever they go, like like it's another
something like a force field.
dimensional portal,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
something that's
yeah, like it seemed like the
the
wind
energy is
stopped
different.
too. Like the wind, there was no rusting of leaves, of grass, no bugs. Like so
Yeah.
odd. And we were
Right.
deep in the
Things
woods. It was
get
November, so it was all
still.
windy.
Yeah, like and you feel it, and you feel it in your gut, and it's like God gives you that
Discernment.
discernment of evil nearby, and if you've ever come across like a rattlesnake or something like that, or maybe in your guys' case like a copperhead out there, or a cottonmouth, if they rear up and stuff, you just look at them and you see that, like, they don't care about you in their face. They're just, and
Yeah,
animals
they're
are
ready.
different, clearly,
Mhm.
but there's just something there.
It's something kind of primal.
Yeah, primal, very different from us. It's not human. And so that feeling just is overwhelming. And typically I would see at least two, sometimes more, never just one. Of what people call a typical gray alien entity in the room. Sometimes they'd be off in a corner, or in a doorway, or looking in a window, or but they were just a typical shorter, kind of 3 foot tall entity. Their heads are huge, their necks are tiny. Like, it doesn't look like that neck could hold up that head. That's like the freak, so strange. They have the black screen eyes. They don't look like eyes because they don't move. It just looks like a screen. No mouth that moves. There's just like a slit there. They smell bad. They come with, some of them smell worse than others. Some don't seem to have much of a scent at all, but some of them will give off a smell of a cross between rotting flesh and sulfur and excrement and urine. It's just the worst smell you can imagine. And the only other time I've smelled that, when I smelled it a few times when I haven't seen them as well. One time we smelled that smell, and since you're into the cryptids and stuff, and I'm going to bring this up because I don't usually talk about this, but God's sending me here, so I'm going to talk about it. We were in a RV park in Memphis, Tennessee, heading cross country from somewhere, and
That's in our territory.
and so we were right outside of Memphis, and which is a cool city to visit, by the way. But we had our dog at the time with us, who has since passed away. Miss you, Rufus. But he was great. He was a runner. This dog loved to go travel with us, and as soon as I opened the door to that RV, I had to have him on that harness because that dog would just run.
Take off. Yeah.
And he's older, and he could barely move, but man, that dog loved to run. Anyway, so we get there and we get out and we're hooking up, and I'm like, I smelled that smell. And I'm like, Dave, are we like close to a septic, or is there something wrong with their, hookups? And no, we couldn't find where the smell was coming from. And I'm getting this terrible feeling. And I open the door for the dog, and he will not go out. I'm forcing him to come out to go to the bathroom. He won't go out. And this dog never misses a chance to get out the door. Doesn't matter where we are. First time ever, this dog will not go outside. And I'm like, okay, something's wrong here. So we go off. We're like, okay, let's go get some lunch. We'll come back and see if it's better. We go off and get some lunch. We come back, and that smell is still there. The dog won't come out. And I'm like, honey, we're leaving. I cannot stay here. Whatever is here is like right here. And I just felt that evil. And as soon as we got to the next place, and we took, pulled out of there, got to a gas station, gassed up, the dog was so happy to get out and go to the bathroom finally, but he wouldn't come out. And we just felt it. So there was clearly something there. I mean, and it was right in the woods. This is not like a open middle of, the middle of the city kind of RV park. It was tucked into just a really heavily wooded area. So there was something there. Did I see something? No, but we all sensed it. And when the dog sensed it, I'm like, I'm out of here.
That's definitely confirmation on that, of the dog animal sense stuff, for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. And our son was with us. He was little at the time, probably like 10, maybe 12. And he was so happy to go. He's like, yep. He didn't want to stay either, and for a little kid not want to stay, where we were going to be making s'mores and hanging out, having fun, he loved it. No, he was out of there too. So it's like, okay. Anyway, so that smell, that seems to just always accompany these things. And I think it accompanies these little grays because these little grays I do not think are your typical alien entity. I think they're a biological construct that the non-human alien entities have created. I don't like to just call them aliens because these things, the non-human alien entities, in my opinion, and I'll start out with this because I know your listeners are comfortable with it. I believe these are the fallen angels, the fallen
Thank
angel.
you. Yep, we talked
So
about
Yeah.
that for sure. Yeah.
start right there. So we're all on the same page. Okay, good.
Hmm.
So, and because I've been in their presence and they are evil and they are so much, they're so far advanced of us. They can
Right.
manipulate space, time, energy, matter in ways that we can't imagine. They manipulate our minds, our thoughts, our feelings, um, our environment. But yet they can't hang out right here in our environment with us normally. So, and in the book, I talk about this quite a bit. I do believe that after the flood, Noah, God made a lot of changes. He sealed them up. God sealed them in the ark for 7 days before it rained. What happened? We don't know, but I really think some significant changes happened to the earth, to the atmosphere, to the sun. I don't think it rained before that. I don't think the sun was the way it is before that because we all had to put on sunscreen now. We all have to wear
Yeah.
sunglasses. It's clear that something changed that we're not even as able to exist in the earth the way we probably once were.
I agree.
I think biological changes were made so that they couldn't mate with human women the same anymore. Just so many things. And we don't have answers to that. And we don't have a Bible that outlines anything much about the angelic beings. We have precious little in the Bible. I do believe the Bible is the inerrant word of God, and He's given us everything we need. Although man has changed it quite a bit
Yeah.
and added to it,
Mhm.
taken away. But what we do get, God gives us discernment, interpretation, so that He makes sure we get what we need and we have everything we need. But I can't wait to learn more because I know
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
so much more, and God's going to share with us, when that time
Yeah.
comes. But we just don't know. And so there are so many big question marks around these entities. Um, and so the people who say they know everything about angels, they're full of it. We don't
Mhm.
know. We don't know anything,
Yeah.
and we don't get to sit down. I mean, I've been in their presence so much. They don't share.
Yeah.
They don't want to share. They share lies and manipulations, the fallen ones. And I've had experience with the good ones, and they don't share because they're not supposed to. They don't interfere. They're just here to help and do what God's called them to come do for us. So, if you're getting information from an entity like this, you're getting it from a fallen one, or it's something very specific that God wants you to have and you'll know it.
Mhm.
So, but anyway, I'll get off of that
Oh,
soapbox.
you're good. You're good. You're
I
good.
love talking about that stuff.
Yeah, me
Just the
too. I do.
spiritual warfare, and it's so cool, like how you mentioned the sulfuric smell, and then how it's associated too with the smell of flesh, blood, and other things. And it's so crazy because that's why we're souls with bodies. Like we have these spiritual senses
Yes.
and man science. Because I mean, we have good friends who are in the same realm of like cryptid warfare and conspiracies and stuff, and they don't believe in this stuff. Like, not all of them believe
Yeah.
in God or anything. And I'm like, but this is
Yeah.
beyond us.
It's
Like,
way. It's
Right.
it's supernatural.
it's
And I
way
always
deeper
have
than.
to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying, like what Zook said, and piggybacking off of that, like it's much more deeper than that. Like these people, like our friends, some of our friends don't believe in this, but it's like me and Zook are like, it's definitely way more deeper than that. And then not only that, it talks about in scripture too how the way like hell is, how it smells, Sheol, all that, yeah, like sulfur, brimstone, all that, and these entities going up and down through interdimensional, and these things leave a trail of breadcrumbs. That way you can dictate on who they are and what they're about, and God gives you the discernment to recognize that. And if you catch on to it, you catch on to it. If not, I don't know what to tell you. But
And what's funny when you mention that you have friends that don't believe in all that, and when I talk to people like that too, I have to mention to them, okay, so then why when you're out there and you're hunting and looking for these things, right? And you're getting close to one and you know it and you're hearing the noises and you're seeing things and you're getting your pictures and stuff, and you get afraid and they feel that horrible fear and they run. And I'm like, what are you afraid of if you don't believe?
exactly.
Then why are you afraid? What is that? If it's not evil, what is it? Why
Hmm.
are you afraid? I mean, you're negating your own thought, what you're saying about him, just in admitting that you're afraid when you feel that fear. Because
Yeah.
that fear is just God's way of telling you this is dangerous and this is evil. And you feel that evil, that these people that go into haunted houses and then they freak out and they're so afraid and they get,
Mm.
scratches and things like that. I'm like, what do you think that is? Why are you so afraid? You're afraid because you know it's bad, it's evil.
Oh
If it
yeah,
was
no,
good, you'd sit down and have lunch with it after, but that's not going to happen. You're
yeah,
running away. You're not running to it. So it proves that point that there is the good and the evil right there, and you don't go chasing after the evil because you're going to get hurt. We're not equipped.
yeah.
And the word tells us we are not equipped to deal with those things. And that's why we have to put on the full armor of
Oh
God
God,
just to
yeah.
get through day to day.
Every
But then
day, yeah,
go looking for these things, come on, you
yeah,
got to be really careful.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Not only that too, it says in Scripture that God doesn't give us a spirit of fear, but of a
right.
sound mind and clarity and all that. And the whole spiritual realm and demonic and fallen angels, they thrive off of fear. They
Yes.
totally thrive
They
off of that. And
they
yeah,
do.
so
And that's why as a little kid, and to get back to how they were taking me,
yeah,
they loved it that I was afraid, that I would wet the bed or I would cry or I would be upset. I mean, the evil would just build, it's like they were feeding off of that. And I think if for people say these are benevolent space brothers, well, then why go after little kids and terrify them like that? If they're
yeah,
so good, they could just come and hang out with the parents and you know do this with adult supervision and in a kind environment. But that's not happening. I was being kidnapped against my will over and over and over again.
yeah,
Um, but at that point, when these little grays, I think they're a biological construct.
yeah.
I think these fallen angels have created them so they've got something that can be here in our environment.
Bodysuits, basically.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
like empty meat suits. I mean, come on, we can create skin in a lab. We can create robots that look human or animal robots and things like that. I think they've modeled them after the other grays that I have seen. There are fallen angelic entities that do look like grays, but they are so varied. They're like humans in that some are tall, some are short, some look feminine, some look masculine, some are huge, some are little. Just like humans, they all look different. They are not cookie cutters walking off of an alien ship all looking the same like Marvin the
yeah,
Martian. That's not at all what it is. They're all different. But these little grays, they're all the same. I've seen them empty on the ships, just like laying on a floor, and there'll be 2, 3 of them there, and they're just like lifeless.
yeah.
And I'm like, okay, there can't be anything in there, right? So, and I think they create these things as well because number one, they can be in our space. Number
Oh,
two, these
well,
are their worker bees. If someone does have the ability to kick and fight and punch, which can happen, they're not going to encounter this angelic being. They're going to encounter this avatar robot type thing. And also, if that ship or whatever they're on at that moment crashes, our whatever agency gets that biologics, non-human biologics, as our government likes to say, they're not going to get anything really worth anything. They're going to get an empty suit. And there is a report out there that a whistleblower released that said when they examined these non-human biologics, they had no lymph system and no digestive system.
mm,
Well, that totally makes sense, doesn't it?
Hmm.
I think that these are inhabited by demons. And again, I know your listeners are familiar with the Nephilim, which are the progeny of a human and a fallen angel. And in the book of Enoch, it says, God said to them, "You're neither angelic nor human." So their spirits didn't go to Jacob's bosom or to heaven or to hell. They are wandering the earth.
oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, Abraham's bosom. Yeah, that's what it
Yeah.
was. Yeah,
So they didn't, so they're wandering looking for bodies to inhabit. This gives them a
mhm,
body to inhabit.
yeah,
And then maybe if they do a good job, they get to go into someone that they've abducted that's,
yeah,
not a Christian that can be inhabited. Who knows? I don't
yeah.
know.
Well,
You
not only
know,
that too. On a side note, what you're talking about, it'll be really quick. We have a couple friends in the government, and we're talking about that. I came up with some theories on that. So basically, in a nutshell, when it comes to cryptids and aliens and demonic and all that, if they inhabit our realm, of course they're interdimensional, but let's say if they get stuck here, right, and they can't go back, they have to and they have to abide by our rules. They have to abide by gravity. They have to eat. They have to drink. They have to do that. And when it comes to cryptids and stuff like that, I do believe they are a subspecies of Nephilim. You know what I'm saying? So they have to abide by our rules basically on how God put it.
Right.
But anyways, I thought that was interesting. But
No,
Well,
I
and
think
it's
that's
weird
really
too. Like, sorry.
come on,
no, go ahead.
Well, and it's weird too, just like how their organs are in different places and how thick their bones are. I'm like, it's just great. That's why they're so hard to kill, and people are aiming for the wrong spots. I'm like, man,
Right.
that dude, John, something from Stardust Ranch. He talked about killing them with samurai swords, but I don't know because I read his books and or what his book he came out with, and I was so excited, but it was super new age. Anyway.
Yeah, that and when you get in the presence of these entities, that's what they push. This one world religion, one world love, new age, everything. And there's nothing wrong with peace, love, and happiness. Come on, that's a great concept. But the other part of it where we're all co-creators and we're all gods, and that's where it falls apart,
it's
and
been
that we don't need a savior. Oh, come on.
Satan's trick since the beginning. What did he tell Eve? You won't
Yeah.
surely die. You'll be like God.
You'll be like gods. It's the same story over and over again. Man's quest for more knowledge and to be more powerful and to be like gods. And it's just into sin, and it's just the same story. There's nothing new under the sun. And I think I heard you guys say once on a show, and it's something that I agree with and I say quite often. These aliens and UAPs and UFOs, it's just the same stuff rebranded to fit into what's happening today.
In the culture, yeah.
Yeah, they just rebrand it for wherever the culture is at the time and make it sound like something shiny and new. And now everyone's all excited about UFOs and aliens. I'm like, this is nothing to be excited about. We're talking about fallen angels and demons here, things that would rather kill you than look at you, and they just want to lead you away from the truth. I mean, the late Dr. Chuck Missler said Satan's outnumbered 2-1. He's building an army.
Oh, Chuck, yep.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And that's and not just of hybrid entities, but of humans who he can lead astray and keep from ever finding out the truth and the gospel. So, and then you get the Christian groups who don't want to talk about this and who shun me because, well, you're too crazy. This isn't possibly something that a Christian would want to talk about. I'm like, you better talk about it, because this is the great deception and it's coming in. And if you're not ready, you're going to be deceived. Even the most elect will be deceived, So it's definitely a tricky area to be in. And it's great that you guys are doing this, because it's really helping share the truth and shed light on the darkness that's out there. Yeah. But to do that, we have to look in some pretty dark corners. And that's unfortunate, but that's how it works. And as you said, everything is very legalistic in God's kingdom. So wherever these entities are, they have to follow God's rules and the legalities of that, and the threshold covenants and the salt covenants, which are the blood covenants and all of that. And I won't go down that road too far, because that's my friend Vicki Joy Anderson's wheelhouse. And she wrote the book, They Only Come Out at Night, which you can find wherever you find my book. And I will get you guys in touch, because she's just amazing. And she understands that very well. But in order for these things to take me, even someone made an agreement somewhere along the way. Yeah. And you could go back as far as the Greada Treaty. And I'm sorry for anyone who has my book that it says Granada Treaty. That is a typo. Somewhere along the line.
Back in Granada.
Yeah. Somewhere in the line, an autocorrect got in there, and y'all don't know how hard it is to get these things fixed. But at some point, it will get fixed. So just every now and then, I like to put that out there. I really do know it's the Greada Treaty. Anyway, so someone pointed that out to me. I'm like, oh, how did that happen? Oh my God.
Oh no.
Anyway, but God knows, everyone. It's okay. So, but that was an agreement made. But someone has to agree for them to be able to take someone, to be able to take you. And it doesn't matter if you're a Christian or not. These entities can take anyone. And there's a false narrative out there that if you're a Christian, you cannot be abducted by a non-human alien entity. That is false. I'd write an article for Ellie Marzulli called Little Gray Lies, and I'm going to start speaking on that
I like it. I like how you put that. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I'm gonna
amazing.
start publishing some like spoken parts of that for social media and on my website to just do like a video series on it because I think it's really important to just dispel some of these untrue things that are out there, and there's so much. I'm coming across more and more every day. But yeah, so and one of the latest one that I put out there is that, I'm a Christian, I can't be taken. So and so told me that. I'm like, no, that's not true. I mean, we were talking, before, and you look at, Ephesians, you look at first Peter and second Corinthians. Yeah, I had to look. I always get those two mixed up. And it talks about how, Satan's coming after the Christians, not the unsaved. He wants to get the saved. He wants you. He wants to
Correct.
turn you away from God. He wants to get the people that God has called. And you're the one he wants to damage. And you're the one he wants to hurt. And you're the one who needs to go into Ephesians 6 and put on that full armor of God every single day. And I know you guys have talked about that. And I'm so glad that you did, because it is so important that we do that every single day. But yeah, so, as a Christian, yes, you can be taken, but you have the advantage of knowing, hey, they have the same creator we do, and they have to obey him. And all I have to do is tell them, hey, in Jesus' name, you can't touch me.
Mhm.
You have no power over me. God is mine. I am God's.
Yeah.
I belong to him. I belong
Yeah.
to Jesus. And then boom, they're out of here.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that Christians, like, I know it's taboo, but they have to understand their authority in Jesus Christ,
Yes.
and a lot of people don't.
And there are
And
even certain levels of the government, I'm sure you know this, where you have to sign a contract where you can't even say in Jesus' name, even if you stub your toe or something. I'm like, that's so
yeah,
fascinating.
it is.
Like,
Where they're like, you can't talk about that. You can't say it out loud. And it's like, the good thing is you can say it in your head and your heart, and they still have to obey. If it's not verbal, that's okay. You can still say that in your head, in your heart. You can be praying silently,
Spirit,
but
yeah.
out loud in your heart, and they still hear it. So you're still covered. God's with you, period. I mean, that is true. And there are a lot more non-Christians calling on Jesus to be taken out of these situations. And he's still there, because he's still your creator. He still loves you, even if you haven't invited him into your heart yet. But once you call on him, you're creating a covenant with him. And then you're saying, hey, I want to start a relationship, and you're calling on him to help you. And so that really starts that conversation and that relationship. And I feel like people are doing that. They are creating that. And there's just such a stigma about Christians. And there are a lot of Christians who created this really ugly look for those who follow God and follow Jesus. And that's really unfortunate, and that casts a lot of judgment. And that makes me sad, because it's just about following God and knowing who our creator is, and that we're not worthy of this salvation, but it's a free gift that's given to us anyway. So sorry, I'm getting preachy. I'm going to get
You're
off
good.
of that soapbox.
please, we
Good.
love this. We love this.
Okay.
People need to hear your message. Like,
Okay.
it's amazing.
Okay, well, thank you. But I'll go back to, being taken. So when I was little, at that point, so now everything's quiet, and I can feel the evil in the room. I can smell them half the time, and the grays will be there. And they would put me into a state of waking paralysis, not sleep paralysis, which I have had many, many times. But a waking paralysis is when you're wide awake, but you just can't move. You can't scream, you can't move, you can't gesture at anyone or anything like that. And before that happens, if there was someone else in the room, or my parents were in the next room, if I yelled out or I tried to wake that other person, even as an adult, if there was an adult in the room with me, they wouldn't wake up. They would be already put into a deep sleep state where I couldn't rouse them at all.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's happened many, many times. And so when people say, well, your parents would notice if you were missing at night, I'm like, well, in a normal situation, absolutely. But this is not a normal situation. Everyone in that home is in a deep, deep sleep, and they're not going to wake up until I'm brought back, period. End of story. And that's just what it is. So at that point, where now I'm paralyzed, but I'm still aware, and I would be levitated, lifted off the bed, and it's just this weirdest feeling of and they would take me up through a closed window or up through a ceiling. And the weirdest thing is, I remember seeing every detail of the ceiling, or the pictures that were high up on a wall, or the bugs in a lamp, or the details in a screen, or the smudges on a window, or wherever I was taken, right there. And it felt like my body would go into, I still have the vibration kind of feeling. And now it feels like my body's in just like a million bazillion pieces, like it's ball bearings almost. It's just so hard to describe.
Huh.
And I'm different, and I'm just through. And before I know it, I'm out of the house. And, sometimes I remember seeing things get farther away and smaller and smaller and smaller. I can still see the room,
Yeah.
and I'm outside the house, or I can see the river, or I can see the hills and the trees, or cars, things like that. At that point, I would usually get put into a sleep state during the transport. I don't have a ton of transport memories. I have some. And I don't remember everything every time. There are pieces of this one and pieces of that one.
Yeah.
A lot of the abduction scenario, because that always seemed to wake me up a lot of the time, but not every time. When I get really upset, they just would put me under real quick. But sometimes I would wake up on an exam table, like a metal exam table, and lights above. These places they took me were really darkly lit with like the backlighting was always like a red or blue or violet. And I could never tell where those lights were coming from. It wasn't like those lights were like light fixtures.
Mhm.
But on these exam tables, there were like big lights above, like you'd get in a dentist or a doctor's office, and all kinds of machines that I didn't know what they were doing. And they never take the time to tell you, now we're going to do this. Now they weren't nice about it. They used needles, and they probed every part of me, and examined every part of me, and did things to me that I don't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
But it was invasive, and it was ugly. I was naked half the time. It was cold. And I'd get home, and sometimes my pajamas would be on inside out. Sometimes they'd be in another room. Sometimes they'd be at the foot of the bed. A lot of times I'd be taken back, and I'd wake up back in my bed, and I would just be so upset and so scared. I'd go sleep under my parents' bed or at the foot of their bed,
Mhm.
just to feel safer. Um, Even though they'd already taken me that night, and, likely they weren't going to come back. But it was really hard as a little kid. And I wanted to tell people, and I was trying to talk about it.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll come back to that. But sometimes they would take me, and there would be this bank of elevators that we would come up to. And this bank of elevators, there were just doors that opened, and we get in, and it would just go down and down and down and down. And then we'd get on what, when I was little, I call the sideways elevators, because for me, vehicles were noisy, in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
And this was silent, but it had benches, like bench seats, and it was always cold. I was always so cold. And it went really fast. As far as I could tell, it's hard to tell how fast it was going, because it was so quiet. And then I'd get off of that, and it was like an elevator door too, the way it opened. And then that would take me into this just massive area. And I'm assuming because the elevators take me down, I'm in an underground facility. These facilities are massive. They're huge. I mean, if you put like an airport and a coliseum and all these places all together, you're still not even close. They're so big. It looks like there could be sky above. And there are just hallways and stairs and elevators and rooms upon rooms upon rooms. It's like, it's just massive. There's no way you could find your way around, I mean, but I always just, it was like I knew where I had to go. Everyone there is just like in a stupor, like this, what L.A. Marzulli calls UFO brain fog. And it's a very real thing. People are like, there were a lot of other abductees, and people are like, well, why didn't you talk to them? I'm like, because you're not thinking straight, and you can't think straight, and you're in this state of just fog, right? And nothing makes sense. Oh, I've heard people talk about that when they come into contact with like a Bigfoot or something like that, and they're like, why didn't I think straight? Or when they see a UFO and they don't take a picture or a video, they're like, I just wasn't thinking. Why didn't I pull out my camera? It's like this brain fog. And I always knew where to go. I had a handler. I call him a handler. He had a name, but it wasn't a spoken name. It was like an imprint. Like I knew it wasn't a name like we call people names. I did have a little name for him that I called him when I was little, but it wasn't like he had a name. We just had an imprint. I always knew where he was, and I went straight to him, and he led me around. We were very close. I had a very Stockholm syndrome relationship with him. He was with me my whole life. As I got older, I wanted to see what he really looked like because I could tell he would fuzz in and out sometimes, like a hologram almost.
Yeah.
And he, when he did show me his true form, and I told him I'm fine with that. I want to see what you really look like. He was a reptilian. I say that very casually because I've said it so many times. And I write about it in the book. He was not ugly. He was not grotesque. He was beautiful. His face was very large. He had like this line that went down the middle and kind of a line across the forehead, and another like kind of ridgy kind of lip line, and a very flat nose, very flat little ears, really large eyes, really thick neck, and just very built, very muscular, just huge, ugly feet. Just like that part you would expect, but he was beautiful. His skin was like glistening. It was like jeweled, almost like opalescent, and it's I try really hard to describe him in the book. He was
the smell.
beautiful. He had a different kind of musk to him that was, I can't really describe it because I've never smelled anything like it here, but he had a very distinct.
Did it smell good? Was it putrid? Was it like kind of?
It wasn't putrid. It was. I don't like musky like perfumes and stuff like that, and I think that's why, because that's kind of what it was like.
Yeah.
It was like a thick musk kind of smell. And some people might like it. I don't, and I think I don't like it because that's how he smelled.
Yeah.
So I can't say it was so much putrid as it's just I don't necessarily like it, but I didn't find it completely off-putting either.
Yeah.
So, but I did have a very Stockholm syndrome type relationship going on. That's a capture bonding thing where, you bond with your captor because they keep you safe, right? And I always knew that he always said he was going to keep me safe, that I was special, that I was important, and so that was just such a, weird situation.
How did, if you can remember this, did he have like a certain accent, or what was like the way he would say?
We spoke, we did mind speak.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So
Telepathically.
he never spoke verbally. Sometimes I would speak verbally, but he was always mind speak.
Gotcha.
So he had some guttural noises that he would make.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, but nothing that was, he never spoke to me. I don't know if he could or not. He just didn't.
Gotcha.
It was just very easy to speak, mind speak, because you direct that thought to who you want it to go to.
Well, you kind of figured in the whole next realm of evolution, right? Like when people start to learn to mind speak telepathically and stuff like that, that's way faster, way easier than us doing that, right? Well, if the human race started to do that, eventually we wouldn't be able to talk or to speak, because if you look at right now with all of the Gen Z and stuff, they're so stuck on their phones, right?
Right.
They have bad communication skills. So it's
kind of skills are lacking.
I've even noticed that, like
kind
the jaw
of
structures.
correlates. Yeah, it kind of correlates with the same thing with telepathy. If you do that for millennia, you're just going to not use this anymore.
Well, look at when they had everyone masked up, and then little children were not learning to speak and verbalize because they learned by watching how our mouths move.
Exactly.
Not just by listening, but by watching and looking at how it works. So when you can't see that, then it changes.
There's no use for this,
So but a lot of it was that way, and with that, all of the different entities there, it was that way. So there were everything from the grays to the reptilian entities to the mantis type, insectoid type entities.
Like insectoids.
Yes, and they were always kind of off. I don't like them. I don't like any of them, but those scared me the most. I think they were kind of off in the I always called them when I was little the corner sitters because they always seemed to be off in the corner watching everybody.
Kind of
So
like,
they
yeah.
were kind of, yeah, they were kind of off. And
Hey.
they were, yeah, but they seemed like they were in charge almost. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
they
they're
were
kind of,
on it
yeah, they're kind of like
and
delegating
scared.
everything, watching it. Yeah.
Yeah, and like they'd get frustrated and just jump in and take over or something. You know,
Wow.
the grays, the normal grays, not the little cookie cutter grays, but the regular grays. Like I said, they were all different. Like people are all different.
Yeah.
And they did a lot of the stuff. Like when they brought me a baby, there was a gray and a Nordic, but and that's a whole nother conversation. I have had missing pregnancies. I have a lot to talk about on that. I've written a lot about that and spoken with so many women about that. And that's something I know we probably won't have time to get into today, but it's something we can certainly do at another time.
For
And I
sure.
have seen those children as well. And one time they took me and it was a different part of this underground that I hadn't been in before. This particular hallway was very dark red lit. And as we're walking down the hallway, I notice it's lined with what looks like aquariums in a pet shop, you know, and each one has something in it. And they look like fetuses, but they don't necessarily look human. And I don't know what they are, but I mean, they are all the way up to the ceiling. So obviously I can't see all of them. And I'm in the stupor, you know, the UFO brain fog. And I'm trying really hard to look and concentrate. You know, there's always that part in the back of your mind that's going, wake up, come on, pay attention, but you can't get that. Do you ever feel that way, like when you first wake up, you know, that kind
Well,
of
that's how I am. That's how I'm every day because I actually work graveyard shift, so
okay.
that's how I feel when I get up every day.
All right, so you get it, right? Okay. So yeah, it's like that. And I'm looking and I don't know what they are, if they're human, if they're hybrid, if they're alien, if they're animals, you know, like chimeras. I couldn't tell some. So we get to the end of where those aquariums are, and then the hallway turns into just like a normal hallway. But at the end of where those aquariums are, there's a door on either side. And they open one of those doors, and it's the size of a large closet. And there's a woman in there on the floor, and she's imitating childbirth, and it is disgusting.
She's imitating.
Imitating childbirth. And she has
Okay.
a little baby, a really dark purplish blue little baby with her, and she's pretending to give birth to it and she's very into this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like someone who's 100% bought in, drinking the Kool-Aid, 100% bought in. I am not, you know, even though they've had me my whole life and I have been groomed and conditioned to be a part of what they're doing, you know. And so they hand me a baby and they say, this is your baby. This is a good baby. Hold your baby. It's a good baby. It's a good baby. It's a good baby. And I take this little baby and it is very reddish blue in color. It was purplish
Yeah.
blue. And its head is very large and its eyes are very large, but its eyes aren't open. But I know it's mine. I can tell just by the way it looks. There's something about it and the features, you know. A mom always does her baby.
You have like a mother's sixth sense on
Oh
that.
yeah, you can look at 1,000 babies in a nursery and be like, there's mine. I can look at my kids when they're, you know, I've had kids in the military and in college and stuff like that. And there'll be a sea of kids and I'm like, there he is. It's like, where's Waldo? And even the one who's adopted, I can pick him out too. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. I know. And so I hold this baby up to me and it won't cuddle into me. It doesn't respond. And I'm holding it. I'm trying to get it to cuddle into me. I'm like, what's wrong with my baby? What's wrong with this baby? You know? And they're just like, just hold your baby. It's a good baby. And I'm like, yeah, but something's wrong. You know, something's wrong with my baby. And I'm getting very upset because it just won't respond to me. And I'm trying to cuddle it and it just won't, you know, I
Feeling it, yeah.
I know you've had kids because I can see the car seat. You know, when you hold that baby, it just like, oh, it becomes one with you. It's such a wonderful feeling. It just didn't respond. And I was getting very upset. And they're like, okay, you know, well, it's time to, you know, I know they're going to take me. I'm done. And I'm like, no, I'm not giving you this baby. I'm taking it home.
Yeah.
This is my baby. I am not giving it up. I am keeping it. And I am determined to take this baby home and fix it. And they're like, they're not having it, you know. And they shut me down. Next thing I know, I wake up, I'm back in my bed, and I'm so upset because I want that baby. It was devastating to me.
How old were you at this time?
20s.
Okay.
20s. I wasn't a young
Gotcha.
teenager or anything like that. I don't know when the first time that I got pregnant was. I have no idea. I know the first
Yeah.
time that I have a verified pregnancy, I was like 22, 21 or 22.
Gotcha.
And that one was verified where I was married, so I expected it. But before then, I wouldn't have known because I didn't know what to expect. You know what I mean? I was very naive in that respect. So, and I had verified pregnancies, and that's another whole conversation, long conversation to go into. But I wanted that baby, and I knew I didn't know enough about Nephilim. I didn't know enough about the extra canonical books. I didn't know enough to know that there was nothing I could do, you
Yeah.
know. And I'm not saying that these hybrids aren't redeemable. I've kind of said that in the past, and I regret having ever said anything or intimating that, because it's not my decision. That's God's decision,
Mm.
whether anything is redeemable or not. I'm just going on what I know from the Word. But there was nothing there, and I had, and I can talk about it in depth another time too. But God did give me the grace to let me see them later in life, because I prayed and prayed and prayed I wanted to see them. I wanted them. I was devastated. I knew there were, several of them out there, and God did let me see them later in life. I woke up one night. It's about 3 in the morning, and there are 3 kids standing by the bed, and I thought they were my kids at the time. So I sat up in bed. I'm like, "Hey, so and so." I said one of my kids' names. "What's the matter?" First mom instinct. What's wrong? And I realized these are not my boys. They're too short. They're too stocky, and they're wearing clothes that my boys wouldn't have. But I can recognize them. They look
Yes.
like me. They're mine. And so I hit my husband. I say his name. I'm like, "Hey, Dave, wake up, wake up!" And he won't wake up.
Yeah.
He won't move. And I'm like, "Oh no." And so I look over and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it's you." I was excited.
Yeah.
They they're shorter than my boys, they're stockier than my boys, they look older. My oldest is, in his 30s. So and they're all wearing like what looks like a gray hooded sweatshirt type material. And they look very blue, like dark bluish purplish color. Their eyes are very black, very dark. Um And I'm just like, and all I feel coming off of them is evil. That
Yeah.
same evil feeling. And I want to feel love. I'm feeling love. I'm feeling, but oh my God, what's wrong? Why are you angry? I can feel the anger. And they just kept saying, so they said, "You have to come with us." I said, "No, I'm not coming with you. You can stay here with me." And we're mind speak at this point. Cause at first I was verbal.
Yeah.
Now I'm mind speak, because they just went straight into that. So now I realize, okay. And I'm like, "No, I'm not going with you, but you can stay there." They just kept saying, "You have to come with us." I'm like, "No, I'm not." At this point, I've already broken it, right? I've already stopped the abductions. I've already called on Jesus. They know they can't take me anymore. And I think they sent them because
I
that
see
was,
this is going. That was
yeah,
their
an
that was
effort to
their
get me back.
only that was like their Hail Mary to see if they can
Oh,
get
they
you
have
back.
one more. They do one. They have one
Okay.
more in their arsenal that they tried. And who knows, they may have more tries of different things, but they did try one more. So they were appealing to the mother in me, and I'm like, "No, you can stay here, but I can't go with you. No." And they're like, they were getting angrier. The evil was getting thicker. I could just feel it. They start trying to levitate me off the bed. I feel myself lifting. And I'm like, "No, I'm not going with you in Jesus' name, no." And that came out just so automatic.
Yeah.
The second I said, "In Jesus' name, no," boom, I'm back on the bed. Boom, my husband sits straight up in bed, and they're gone.
Yeah.
And my husband sits up and
Wow.
he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh, why couldn't you wake up, 2 minutes ago? It
Never
seemed."
Man.
mind.
I'm just like,
Man.
"You're not gonna believe what just happened." And I just told him everything. And, I'm wide awake, and he knows that this was not a dream.
Yeah.
You know, he knows I've had nightmares and I've had things where I'm talking and he's had to wake me up, and he knows there's a difference. And I know the difference between a dream and real, because I don't remember my dreams. I remember them for like 5 seconds and they're gone. And dreams are very
Yeah.
different there's nothing tactile in a dream. This was very tactile. I mean, I felt every second of it. And I just wanted to reach out and hug them and touch them. And I couldn't, they didn't want me near them. And they had no love for me. And I realized, that was a gift. God gave me that gift to realize there was nothing there for me with them.
Yeah,
There
it
was
was
nothing.
almost
There
kind of
was
like
no
closure.
It was absolutely closure.
Yeah.
I felt terrible that, my seed had been used for that. That's where the title of the book comes from. That's when I realized, that's when God told me, now you have to go, because this was after the near-death experience.
Yeah.
That's when God put it on my heart. Now you have to go find Ellie Mercilli. You have to tell him.
Yeah.
This, now that you have that closure, it was kind of like the final chapter for me with the abductions and with the children. And it's like, God's like, now it's time. Now you have to just put this all together and you have to share what you know.
Yeah.
And I was so grateful for that closure, because I mean, when I talk about these kids and these pregnancies, it's extremely difficult, and I shed a lot of tears. And I have to leave the room when LA talks about it in some of his lectures when he does, because it just, he'll show my video clips and stuff, and it's really, really hard. And I've spoken with so many women who've gone through it too, and just to understand the depth of the pain that it is when you go to a doctor and you find out you're pregnant and you hear a heartbeat, or you see an ultrasound and you see the baby in there, and then you go back and your uterus is clean and they do a DNC and they say there's no fetal tissue and they can't tell you where your baby went. And they're like, well, you must have lost it at home. I'm like, well, wouldn't there be something left in there?
Mm-hmm.
And my uterus is clean as a whistle. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
None of it makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's just the hardest thing to get through. But God gave me that closure, and I am so grateful for that, because I think I would have kept praying to have them in my life, and doing that is opening a doorway to letting that evil back in.
Yeah. Not only that, the longer it go on, you get more desperate, and then you might have caved. Who knows?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I would absolutely would have. Yeah, that's just a mother's heart or a father's heart.
Yeah.
I would have absolutely done that, and God knew that. God knows our weaknesses,
He does.
and He knows our strengths, and He made sure that I had that. So, as scary as it was, I am so grateful, and I'm grateful for every single thing that's happened. I've had people say, "Would you do it all again?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't want any of these terrible things that have happened to me in my life. No." And I don't want to be doing this right now that I'm doing, but this is what I'm called to do. And if I could help someone and share with someone and help someone find their path and their way, and help someone just stop this from happening to them, then it's worth it. Right? I mean, I take a lot of criticism and ridicule. Obviously, anyone who admits that they've been taken by non-human alien entities, they're going to be subject to that. And that's just how it is. So, but it's worth it if it helps somebody, and if people know they can reach out and have someone to talk to, then it's totally worth it. Totally worth it.
Quick question.
Sure.
Okay, so we actually interviewed a woman. Same thing. It went along her family line of all the women, and she's not a Christian at all. She's in the New Age and stuff. But we were trying to talk to her about the whole concept and what we believe in and all that. But you think it has to tie in with like your bloodline? Because she talked about that.
There's a lot of that type of thing. Yeah. There's a couple of different things. One, there are permissions given somewhere along the way. I had a lot of Masons in my family. My grandfather was a very high level Mason. I don't even know what level, but he was some kind of a big deal. My parents were in Eastern Star and DMLA, which is the young adults level of Masons. I was put into Rainbow Girls, which is the young girls from kind of 13 to 17 group, which was gross. I am telling you right now. After I got fully initiated in and was part of that, was you always have to wear these formal dresses. And we're all these little girls, like 13, 14, 15 years old. And we're walking around this room, because you have to walk like clockwise or counterclockwise. I can't remember, around this room. And the room is ringed with all these old men. It was just so disgusting. I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm not going back.
Yeah, it sounds like a whole pedophile thing. You know what I'm saying?
Doesn't it?
100%.
It's just like, pick your wife. Here you go. I'm not saying that's what they were doing. I'm just saying it felt gross to me, and every fiber of my being was saying, "Get the f out of here." So I did. Anyway, but yeah, so there's that. The bloodlines, I'm O negative. I think the Rh negative bloodline is a big part of it. I don't think that if you have Rh negative blood that you are the bloodlines of the gods or the bloodlines of the aliens or the bloodlines of royalty or the bloodlines of anything. I think what happened at some point, and I think this happened after Noah, I think God changed the human genome and things during that time. I think the Rh negative means you don't have this protein coating on your blood cells. It means I can donate blood to anyone. Anyone can use my blood. I just can't get anyone else's except another O negative. I think this is just conjecture on my part, but this is my personal theory. And I haven't heard anyone else have this theory. If you have, let me know. But my personal theory, as far as I know, I'm the one who came up with this, is that these fallen entities took some people and altered their blood cells to take that protective coating off of the cell so they could try to get this mating thing going again. There's a concentration of people in France in that mountainous area in France where Rh negative blood is found, and they think it kind of goes out from there. That fits my lineage. And it's very hard for Rh negative people to have children, because once you give birth to an Rh positive baby, your body now builds up antibodies, and if you have another Rh positive baby, your body's going to reject it, and you have to take shots that trick your body into thinking that you have Rh positive blood. Otherwise, you will reject that baby. But I think they did that so that they could keep trying to mate with the humans, as they did in the days of Noah. And I think that's where it comes from. And that's conjecture on my part, but that's my thoughts on it. That's what I think happened.
Okay,
And,
question.
Mhm.
Where did you say your bloodline was from? Technically, I forgot. What was it?
Part of it is French. Yeah, it goes back into France.
Okay. Just checking.
Yeah, and to where there's a really high concentration of Rh negative it's escaping me right now. I think I haven't had enough coffee this morning, but in the mountainous region in France, that's on the border between France and Switzerland, and it's weird that it's there. It's a very remote area, but that's where the highest concentration of Rh negative blood types are.
Okay? Sorry for interrupting. What's really crazy is that CERN is in Switzerland.
Yeah. And the Lascaux caves are out there and all kinds of crazy stuff, right? It's a really highly strange area where all that is.
Mount Hermon and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at all kinds of craziness. So, I think there's something to that. I think that they were manipulating the blood. Just, it's all about the blood, right? Salt covenants about the blood. The animal mutilations. What do they find? Drained of blood.
Yep.
Bovine blood, as L.A. Marzulli, came up with, and shares that bovine blood can be used in place of human blood. It's compatible with human blood. Most people don't know that, but that's why they take the cattle and they are found drained of blood. It's all about the blood, and the Bible tells us all through. It's all about the blood. It's all about the blood. There's so much more to that than we will ever understand.
Also, too, you ever heard of what was it? Adrenochrome?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. How correlates with fear with kids, and
yes,
they drain their blood and it gets it's almost like a cocaine to them.
Right.
Yeah, anyways, I thought that was pretty interesting. But that was
there's just so much about us that they want, right? They're obsessed with our blood. They're obsessed with things like the different hormones and the adrenochrome. They're obsessed with sex. They're obsessed with everything about the human form. It's like when God made Adam out of the dirt. Here's this beautiful Satan covered with every precious stone. And God's like, I'm going to make a dirt man and I'm going to give him dominion here. And I'm going to give him this planet that you loved. Of course Satan's pissed. Of course he's coming after us.
Slap in the face. Yeah. He's like, I can't hurt God personally. I'm going to go after his creation. Yeah.
And I'm going to let them get married and procreate. We don't know that angels can't procreate. We just know they don't get give and take in marriage. But we don't know that they can't procreate. Nothing in the Bible says that. It says they don't give and take in marriage. And then what it says is that in the book of Daniel, that it would be like the days of Noah, but they would no longer cleave to them. They'll no longer cleave to the humans, which means they'll no longer be able to be given and have that marriage covenant with humans, which means they won't be able to have the children the way they did before.
Yeah, so they have to go about it scientifically.
Yeah. So it's just, and we are back in the days of Noah, and it says to
Oh, yeah.
Daniel, seal up this book until the end of days, when, people will be going to and fro across the earth. It's like, oh, well, what are we doing now? Traveling to and fro across the earth. I mean, things that seemed crazy just 50 years ago are possible now that weren't in that book. So I do think we are in those times. Jesus said it would be like in Matthew 24, like in the days of Noah.
Yep,
And
Matthew
there's
24,
lawlessness.
Matthew 24, Luke 21, 2 Thessalonians, Daniel, Ezekiel. Yeah.
Oh,
Revelation.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Fire. I love it. Yes. And that's all, and you got to, people, you got to read, you got to look at the Bible, and it's so important, and it's so good once you get into it. People are like, I don't like the Bible, it's boring. It's not boring.
No, it could be like the
fire.
best. It would seriously, if the Bible was ever in a
Oh.
movie, it would be the best movie of all time.
Yeah, they try to make movies out of it, but they don't put the good stuff in.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, yeah, Christian movies. Whenever I would fast secular media, and I'm like, man, there are only like 2 good Christian movies out there. It's
Yeah,
crazy. I'm like, man,
yeah.
you got to make it relatable to the Bible, then boom.
Right.
But it
And
really
I
is a
know
living, breathing book. So
it is, and that's why I love it. It's the living word, and I get that now because every time I can read the same passage over and over again and get something different every single time, because I pray for discernment, and that's that's what I pray for everyone out there too, especially anyone dealing with anything in this crazy UFO, alien, fallen angel, and just everything in the world, is that you have discernment and clear discernment, not just on these things, but on the people in your lives and the things that you're reading and the things that we're being bombarded with right now, because there are so many little gray lies out there that need to be exposed and to save people from just going down a destructive path, a really destructive path. And I know that you have a time constraint, so there's so many more things we could talk about, but I'm happy to do a part 2 with you at some point. So.
Oh, we're good. We're good.
Oh, no, yeah, you're totally fine.
We got about like 20, 25 minutes, something like that.
Oh,
We're
cool.
good to go.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure, so that's good. Okay, cool. So back to being taken. So they would take me when I was little, and I tried to let people. I know we keep going from there back out, but I'll keep trying to go back into that. They would take me, and different things would happen. And I tried to tell people what was going on. I really did. But like I said, I didn't have a vocabulary for it. There just wasn't anything out there. I mean, maybe there was Star Trek, or maybe there was like Chariots of the Gods and stuff like that out there, things like that. But nothing that really, as a 5 or 6 year old, that I could use. And, I knew about God. I knew who Jesus was, kind of. We went to church, but it wasn't, it was just, you get dressed up, you go, you behave. I learned a little bit about Noah and some animals on an ark, and just nothing real helpful. I did learn the Jesus Loves Me song, and I know I sang that a lot when I was little, and I think some nights that kept them away from me, which is really wild, and I didn't know why, but it comforted me. And that's the crazy part, is that I know he was always with me and comforting me even when I didn't know who he was. He let himself be known to me as a little child, because we can't control, as little children, God doesn't let these things happen. The world lets these things happen. And people ask me all the time, how can a loving God let these things happen? We have choices, and we're not born into a world where anything is guaranteed. And he loved us enough to give us the gift of salvation and to let us live in an age of grace. But the world is the one that's doing these things. And God does give us a way to stop it. But, and there is punishment for those who hurt the little ones. But as a little child, it was very difficult. So I'm trying to talk to people, trying to talk to the kids at school, my parents. I don't really even have any vocabulary to support what I'm trying to say. And one night they took me and they walked me out to the backyard of my grandparents' house, and I'm physically outside. I can feel the grass under my feet. It's cold. It's wet. There's a clothesline that goes down the middle of the yard, and they show me my family being walked out on the other side of the clothesline. Now, this is a screen memory. And a screen memory is kind of like wearing VR goggles.
Yeah.
Back then, we had nothing to compare it to. But I have put those VR goggles on that my kids have and played one of those silly games, and it was a lot of fun, but it was crazy, and it kind of freaked me out a little bit, because I know what that feels like. I've experienced it my whole life, but I never thought we would have anything like that. So, but it's nice because I can explain it better now. So I'm seeing my family walk out, and it's as real as, me talking to you. And they tell me that I have to be good. I cannot talk about this or my family will be killed. And they spray something on the backs of their necks. And then I watch my family being beheaded in front of me.
Oh,
I'm like a 6-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And it was devastating and terrifying. And it just broke something in me. And when little children are trafficked in just our world, their families are used as as leverage. If you do anything, if you try to get away, we're going to kill your mom, we're going to kill your dad. So same thing. I never even put those pieces together until recently, that they were doing the same thing to me. But so that just really broke something inside me. And so that, I think, is that probably that same week they found me huddled in the corner of a bathroom stall at school. I wouldn't come out. I was just rocking, holding on my knees in a fetal position, just rocking. And so they had to call my mom to come get me. And I know I just kept saying, I don't want them to touch me. I don't want them to take me. I don't want them to touch, just babbling. And she took me to the doctor, and he checked me out and said, whatever's going on, she's young. She'll be fine. She'll forget. This is in the 70s, so that's common. 60s, 70s. That wasn't people are like, why would a doctor say that? I'm like, come on. You don't think every doctor is going to say the right thing every time, do you? It wasn't uncommon back then. I'm sorry. And she felt bad about it, later on, that she trusted him. But, you're a parent. You think you can trust your pediatrician. She did. I remember the name of the doctor even, but I won't say it. And it was at that point when I realized I didn't have an out. I didn't have a choice. No one was going to save me. No one was going to protect me. There was nothing I could do. And I separated from it. And that's when I disassociated completely. I put that part of my life over here and the rest of my life over here. And I refused to let the two come together.
You
When
basically just compartmentalized your life is all you did.
I did. I did.
Yeah.
And when they would pick me up, I would go somewhere else in my head.
Yeah.
And I think that affected my memories, because if I wasn't allowing myself to be physically present, they weren't trying to block my memory so much.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking about something. I'm putting myself in a field, in a meadow, down by a creek, by a river, hanging out with the animals, whatever, just happy places. A little 6-year-old kid saying to herself, just go to a happy place. I mean, that wasn't even terminology back then.
Yeah.
You didn't hear that kind of crap, that kind of new age sorry crap until later in life. But that's what I did. I just went to another place. And I learned to do that such a young age. I got real good at it. And so I just, I had a whole lifetime of learning how to not bring that into my life and just act like everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything's always fine, But it really did mess me up. It messed me up emotionally. It messed me up physically. It messed me up spiritually and psychologically in so many ways. I mean, it's just so messed up.
Yeah.
But God brought me through. My roommates and I got saved when I was about 18. It was either 18 or 19. It was 18. With my roommates, listening to a Duran Duran song. Yeah, the one we were trying to figure out the words to the song. We just got the album. That's how old I am. So we get the album out, or the big old album, and to look at the words. And my roommate's looking at it. She's like, they're talking about the rapture. And we're like, what's the rapture? We had no idea.
I dove into that hole, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
She gets out her Bible. By 4:00 in the morning, we're all crying and sniffling and snotting and sobbing and giving our lives to the Lord and inviting Jesus into our hearts. And life was good, and going to church, and but I didn't have the right guide, for that at that time in my life. And also, I didn't have anyone to tell me that these abductions had anything to do with the Bible or with God, or that these things were anything like that. All I knew was that I I didn't know. I didn't know there was any connection. I didn't know I could rebuke them. So I'm rebuking things left and right at this point. I'm Holy Spirit filled and, enjoying the gifts of the Spirit. And but I didn't really understand discernment, and I didn't really understand. I knew these things were evil, and I felt that evil, but I was so disassociated from it at that point in time that I didn't put the pieces together, and there was no one out there to help me put those pieces together, right?
Yeah.
If someone had told me then what these things were, that they were fallen angels, you better believe I would never have fallen. I hope I would not have fallen away. I would have had definitely a different life.
Yeah.
What's
But
so
I
wild,
found,
even
I'm
just
sorry.
thinking of the word, it's just so wild thinking of the word just disassociation or what disassociation. Like, because nowadays people, I mean, they'll watch like media of people getting like slaughtered and massacred, and then get like Oscar nominations and when all this stuff, and it's crazy because now when people actually hear about or see actual murder and stuff, it doesn't register to them, and it's because they keep scrolling. I don't know. It's just weird how life
You get
seems
you
not
get
real
numb.
to a lot of people.
Yeah, you get numb to something. It's that you're exposed to it so often. Like you guys were talking about how they started the year off in January 1st with that incident in Miami that just went nowhere, and that there's just was conveniently vague and left a lot open to everyone's imagination. I'm like, if there was nothing there, if nothing else, they created an opportunity for an environment of extreme imagination and speculation
Yeah.
in the UFO community, where they could allow people to run crazy with it and then throw them under the bus, or allow people to go crazy with it and just kind of get people used to the idea
Yeah.
without
They're
having to
just
show anything, you
yeah,
know?
they're just kind of seeing what happens. They're kind of acclimating us and getting us ready, in my opinion. But was a trip was on a side note, I was talking to my cousin. She's an air marshal and she's in the military and she's in Florida. She was there at that time
Oh,
and she was actually on her way to go do a job flying. Of course, she's a U.S. Air Marshal, but
mhm.
she was saying that they shut down all air traffic. Only thing that was able to fly were military Apaches and helicopters in that area. That's it. And for
Yeah,
me being ex law enforcement, they sent everyone
I know.
to that mall. Even if there's active shooters, like, if you're tied up, you're not close to that, they grab everyone who's close to go to that while you
Right.
deal with other things. But everybody, like
Yeah.
something was up.
Yeah, active shooter situations have a very specific order in which, and I'm here in Texas, so we're dealing with the Uvalde things right now,
Oh yeah.
and we're learning a lot about the fact that there's a very specific set of protocol.
Yeah.
You set up your command post, you take everyone who's nearby, and you let everyone else deal with it because there's still other crimes and things happening, and we still
Mhm.
need law enforcement. But for them to send everyone, and for the black helicopters, whenever the black helicopters are the only thing out, that's when I'm like, and yeah, it's like boiling the frog. They're they're just bringing it up so slowly that before you realize it, everyone's just accepting it.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And after the last since 2017, we've created this air of everyone now is used to hearing about UFOs, UAPs, and aliens, and
They're
accepting the
conditioned.
fact that they're real, and accepting the fact that the government knows something and they're just not sharing it, and that there's more to this story than what we know, and that's just how it is. But then you hear that the threat level from these things is set at the Pentagon higher than the nuclear threat level from like Russia and China and things like
Mhm.
that. Then you're like, if this wasn't real, why would that threat level be set that high in our government agencies?
Yeah.
And we'd be able to find out about it. So it's real. The threat is real. We are defenseless against these entities.
Mhm.
Our only defense is God. Our only defense is our
Jesus
creator.
Christ. Yeah.
And we are so blessed that we are in the dispensation of grace and that we have that protection. But I warn people all the time, and I put this at the end of every article. Don't go looking up for them, for UFOs and aliens. Look for him, the return of Jesus. We are not equipped to deal with them. They are stronger than we are. They are smarter than we are. They've been around a lot longer than we are. And you don't know what you're going to get into. And you
Mhm.
might get a good one, but you might not. You know, I mean, you don't know if you're going to get a fallen angel or one of God's good angelic beings coming by, because there are both.
Mhm.
They're all using the same vehicles of conveyance. They're all traveling similar ways. They're all going to look similar. They're going to act similar. But the bad guys aren't going to walk up to you and tell you, "Hey, I'm the bad guy. I'm here to steal your car."
Yeah.
They're going to walk
Yeah.
up to you and say, "Hey, do you know what time it is?" while they're lifting the wallet out of your back pocket, or before they shove the gun in your face. You know,
Mhm.
Yeah.
the world doesn't work that way, you know. So they're not going to tell you they're the bad guy. They're going to come and say, "Hey, we're here to save your planet. Can you share this message of peace, love, and happiness? And that we're your ancestral cedars, and you know, we're just here to help." And I get all that, but I just can't get behind it, because you don't kidnap little kids and rape men and women and steal babies and terrorize people and kill innocent animals and then call
Yeah.
yourself benevolent cedars and space brothers.
Oh,
It just
100%. Yeah.
doesn't work that
It
way.
doesn't. And it reminds me what you're talking about, like First John 4, where it says, "Dear brothers, don't believe in every spirit, but test the spirits." You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Test the spirits. You know, but they're not gonna, especially in the, you know, kind of new age community, that's not going to be, that message isn't shared at all. It's
Mhm.
just, well, you're a co-creator, so just go fix it yourself, you know, and just go think happier thoughts. Yeah, it doesn't work that way, you know.
Or I've
But
heard it phrased like, "Hey, let's take a breath." I'm like, what does that mean?" I'm like,
yeah,
let's
right.
pray. I'm like, man.
Yeah, no, we have to research and seek out everything and seek
Mhm.
out answers. I mean, it is the, you know, glory of kings to seek out a thing. You know, we got to do that. We got to seek things out and research everything. And you know, it's okay to have differing opinions. You know, because I think God's universe is so much more than we could ever imagine. So we get this amazing opportunity to research and find out and explore and learn and share while sharing the gospel. I mean, that's great, you know. So stop having arguments about flat earth and round earth, you know. Couldn't it be both?
Mm.
You know, or how the Nephilim return could be a couple of different ways. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, God is omnipotent enough that it could be an earth that appears to be round but is actually flat.
Yeah. You could have
You
like
know,
the
it's
hollow earth
so,
theory. Who knows?
yeah.
Yeah. But I
I
said,
mean, there's
just like major on the majors and minor on the minors, you know?
exactly. There's just so much to it. And it's exciting that we can explore and research, but let's not lose sight of what's important,
Yes.
you know, salvation
Mhm.
and sharing
Exactly.
that, sharing that. That's what's important. And that's, you know, it goes back to why I want to share this and why this is so important for me to share, because you can get so lost in the UFO communities, with everyone's so excited about going out and calling on these things, and let's go summon them, and let's go meet our space brothers. Don't do that. Please don't do that.
Yes.
Do not do that. Like I said, it's just back to, you don't know what you're going to get, you know. The Stephen Greer CE5 stuff, I wish him all the best, you know, and I don't wish him any ill will, but I do not recommend doing that. And, you know, I would love to sit down and talk with him about it, because I think he's putting himself and others in danger, and
Yeah.
that's not cool.
Right.
Um, but that's just my opinion, and you know, I don't disparage anyone else's thoughts or opinions on it. That's cool. That's okay. You can have your own thoughts on it all day long. You know, I'm just talking from what's happened to me and my opinions. So, um, anyway, sorry for going off on that too. But did you
No, it's
guys have
fine. We
any
definitely believe
questions
that
on
too.
that?
Do what?
Did you have any questions on all of that? I think I just went through a lot of stuff. Sorry.
Hold on real
No.
quick. Got my kid freaking turn on the light. I'll be right back. Keep talking.
Oh, I
Keep
saw
talking.
your lights blinking. Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. That's cool. That's cool.
I did have some questions, and I guess while he's back, since I have like a few
Sure.
minutes, but I totally forgot what they were. Oh, well, I was gonna say, like, I don't know if you listened to the earlier episodes, but how I became a Christian is because I dated a witch, and that's when I realized how dark and serious that is. And she said, literal Christians, they literally show up as beacons of light in the spiritual realm, because
Oh
she would do
wow.
a lot of out of body stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
it's so wild whenever you call upon these alien beings, like. If they didn't notice you before because they were focused on somebody else, they definitely notice you then, and and then it's so crazy because that invites so many demons in your life, and it's the same with uh, I guess just like having sex with somebody else. It's not just sex; like it's an intermingling of souls. So those demons
Yeah.
that are attached to them will then start to latch onto you, and then so many people, it's crazy. They could have been psychologically fine, but then develop all these mental issues and stuff. But
Oh yeah, no, I
it's
agree.
just so wild how much of this and how evil these freaking they're beyond evil. Just
Yeah. Oh yeah, they could care less about us. We are just a means to an end, and we are worth less than nothing to them. They want what we have, and they want to get rid of us in the process, and use us to get themselves back on top. And so we're just a means to an end for them, and nothing more. And they parrot the "you're special, you're important, and we love you, and we're your ancestral cedars," but they don't back that up in their actions and in what and
no.
there's no fruit. You can tell by the fruit, and
It's
it's
just
not
pillow talk.
bearing. I'm sorry.
It's just pillow talk. That's all it is.
Exactly. The deception is just so deep, and then I see these you know these alien parades and stuff. So people are wearing these shirts emblazoned with these pictures of aliens and alien diapers and t-shirts on their babies and stuff. I'm like, that's demons, right? And you're wearing pictures of fallen angels and devils and demons.
What's so funny is I'm not gonna call it out, but yeah, I'm gonna call it out. I'm not gonna say who, but one of our friends, he has a tattoo of an alien beaming up someone, and I'm like, brother, you got a fallen angel on you, right? And he's like, what? I was like, yeah, let me educate you.
Well,
You can't get that off. And he's like, oh crap.
I
They
was
gotta
at
cut your arm off.
right. I was at a church with Ellie Marzullian. I'm not gonna say who and which one. And the pastor comes in wearing alien suspenders, and he's all, "I just want you to know, I believe you're very patronizing to me." I'm like, and he's got aliens on his suspenders, and I'm like, did you even hear anything that Ellie said or I said?
Yeah.
Did any of that sink in? So I'm writing, that's the next one on the Little Gray Lies circuit. I had to switch it up this week because I had something happen, and I wanted to make sure I had the thing about the Christians in there, the not being able to be abducted. But the next one is going to be about that, because this emblazoning yourself with aliens all over your clothing, you might as well have pedophiles. Why don't we all wear what's his name Epstein t-shirts too? You might as well put Epstein on one side and Hillary
Pro Epstein or whatever.
Yeah, and an alien on the other, and let's get some serial killers in there in the mix, and we'll just and some big Satan heads and some pentagrams and stuff. You might as well, because it's all the same thing, and people just don't see it that way.
Yeah.
And when people send me, "Oh, I want to send you this or that," it's got an alien on, I'm like, "No, thank you."
Yeah.
And then we're at a conference the other day, and somebody who is supposed to be a really strong Christian, is bringing LA something that's like little spaceships or something, alien things, and like cookies or something. I'm like, so you're bringing him a little box of demon crackers? How nice. Maybe Satan? Yeah. I know. I felt like the church lady, I'm like, is it Satan? But it is, I mean, that's the crazy thing. It's just like, we're normalizing it. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't make it okay. Because when you allow him in, you allow him in, period. No matter how or where you do it, you're allowing it. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's just that simple. Be careful, because now this is a massive industry, a multi-billion-dollar industry. I was trying to get some facts and figures on it, and I can't. The industry is just too big. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
I couldn't find anything in the national retail circuit or anything just to get some numbers behind it for my article. I can't. It's just too much. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's like saying, what percentage of the industry are shirts or socks? It's just that big.
Yeah.
So I just don't recommend it.
Well, I gotta head out, but you guys can keep chatting it up. I'm like, dang.
Oh, this has been so great. No, we'll do it again too.
Yes,
I really
definitely.
enjoyed our time.
Yeah, really I got all the time in the world, so.
I know.
I wish I did. I don't. I haven't.
Yeah, that's all good. It's all good. Yeah, we'll go ahead and wrap it up, and we'll definitely schedule in ASAP for a part 2. So
sure, I'd love that.
I'll try to bump some people so we can get you on ASAP, because I don't like when you're hearing something good, like, okay, we're gonna have a part 2, and then it's like months out, and it's like, oh man, like, yeah, we'll try to get this in ASAP. So
No worries.
But other than that, where could people find you at? If they got any questions, where can they get a hold of you? All that
Sure.
stuff.
Yes, that's great. Okay, the book is available exclusively at lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net. And all of this is on that document I sent you earlier. My website is KarenWilkinsonAuthor.com, Karen with an I, and we'll give you all that for the show notes. You can go to my website and contact me. That's the best way to contact me. I get a lot of people who contact me via social media. That's great, but you have no idea how much junk I get in there,
Oh yeah, I'm
and it's
sure.
very hard to sort through it and find the messages that I want, that are just actual messages for me. So you may not hear from me. Do it that way. So please, if you want to contact me, just do it through my website. My email address, you can do it that way, is stolenseed@yahoo.com. I'm happy to receive messages that way as well. You can reach me. I am on Facebook at Karen Wilkinson and Instagram at Karen Wilkinson Author. Verified, so you can find my little blue check mark. You'll know you got me. And did that because there's other ones coming out now, so I'm trying to keep it so you know you have me when you're on the right one. And I will, share all this obviously from this our time together too. I'll share that across all my social media. But yeah, just look for me on social media. That will link you to my website. My website will link you to social media. Everything will link you back to L.A. Marzulli's website. And right now, that is the only place you're going to be able to buy this unless you find me at an event. I don't know when this is coming out. I will be at the Hear the Watchman conference the end of March, beginning of April. I will not have a table there. I'm just going there because a lot of my friends are going to be there. So I'm going to meet up with them. So you can find me there. And I always have books with me. So, and then I'll be with L.A. Marzulli in the end of April, yes, in Florida, and at the Calvary Church in West Palm Beach, Florida, April 26th to 28th. And then a couple more events after that. They're on my Facebook, and I'll have more on my website soon, as soon as I get that updated. Now that I'm starting to get my events cemented, I think I've got something coming up in Oklahoma in April or May. Sorry, I'm all over the place. Yeah. So we've got a lot of events coming up. It's just, I'm just now starting to get everything coming in as far as what we're going to be doing and which events we can do, because there are a lot of them and I'm trying to get it all organized. So goodbye. It was so great to meet you. Anyway,
Let's keep
yeah,
going.
he's up. So yeah, that's where you can find me. If you find me at events, if LA is going to be there, half the time I will be there as well. It's a great opportunity. I love getting together with people, meeting people, talking with people, spending time with people. In person is so much better. So I try to do as many events as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Vicki Joy Anderson and I will both be at the event in Ohio. And I can't think of that. I'll have to get it to you, and I'll try to get a list for you of the events too. And next time we talk, I'll have a better list. So anyway, that's a long outro, but yes, you can find me online and at some live events this year.
Awesome, Karen. Yeah, like I said, we definitely appreciate you coming on, sharing your knowledge. We're going to have you on for part 2 for sure. And if you could just send us all those details and your links and everything via email, and I'll have Zook plug it in the show notes on this first one, and then we'll go for part 2, and we'll take over from where we left off. So, other than that, Karen, appreciate you. I feel like I felt like we found like another sister in Christ. So this is awesome.
You did.
And yeah, we'll go ahead and sign us off, and then we'll chat a little bit more off recording, and then we'll go from there. So,
well, thank you, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. Just remember, you're not alone, and I'm just so grateful I had this time with your listeners. Thank you.
Right on. Appreciate you. All right, guys. We appreciate you guys for stopping by. And if you guys have an encounter, or you guys need any prayer or anything like that, just go ahead and just hit us up on our email, me and Zook. It's at cryptidwarfare@gmail.com. Hope you guys have a blessed week. And remember, guys, Ephesians 6:12, we're not wrestling against flesh and blood, but against principalities and rulers of this age. So, all right, guys, keep your head up. Jesus wins, and we are out.